Hello, everyone. My name is Chijo. I'm the founder of Blockchain. So it's my great pleasure to here to attend present at UDC 2021. And so today, my topic is concentrated liquidity for multiple pooled assets. So Uniswap perhaps is the most popular DEX, decentralized exchange, in the blockchain and DeFi area. So Uniswap V2, which is DEX using a curve called, which is X times Y equals K. So that for any, for example, swap, for any swap, any token in and out, it will guarantee that the constant of the curve is always satisfied. So it is very permissionless and also very simple. So everyone is able to create a trading pair by just supplying the paired tokens. So for example, by supplying 1 Ether and 3,000 USDT in the pool, meaning that the Ether will be initially priced at 300,000 USD per Ether. And then it will just magically work for example, swap with the corresponding liquidity. Because of its simplicity and also permissionless, right now is one of the most popular and successful DEX in the DeFi area. However, there are still some issues that Uniswap V2 is facing. And the most key issue perhaps is the low capital efficiency, since the liquidity of the provided by the liquidity providers is spread over the price in 0 to infinity. So if a lot of prices is not fixed during the period of time is not touched, that means that there are a lot of assets that are provided into the pool and not effectively contribute to the swap, which results in high slippage and also lower trading fee collected by the liquidity providers. So in order to improve the capital efficiency, so recently, roughly 3 months ago, Uniswap launched their version 3 using a technique called concentrate liquidity. It's using a special curve where it can concentrate the liquidity from a price range, which here is PA to PB, and so that the curve looks like X plus L divided by square root of PB times Y plus L times square root of PA equals L squared. So V2 actually is essentially a special version of V3 by putting PA equals 0 and PB equals infinite. So there's an additional parameter, that is the price range when providing the liquidity. So when LP supplying liquidity, the protocol will ask the LP to provide the price range of the liquidity. So here I gave an example that's captured from the Uniswap V3. So on the right bottom, you can see there is the minimum price and maximum price for the trading pair. Right now here I select is Ether to USDT. So this is adjustable by the liquidity providers. And on the left-hand side, the protocol will automatically calculate how much assets needs to be deposited into the trading pair in order to match corresponding price. And on the right top side, you can see a chart that is the aggregate of all the ranged liquidity aggregate by all liquidity providers, where you can see that the price range, a lot of liquidity actually is concentrated from the price range of 3,000 to roughly 4,000. So by putting more liquidity in this range, all this LP within this range can collect much more fee, and also the capital efficiency is much higher than V2. So let me take another example of concentrated liquidity. There's a stablecoin swap in the trading pair of USDC and USDT. So on the right-hand side is liquidity chart captured from Uniswap V3, where you can see there are two bars indicating the 12 bars indicating the liquidity provided from the price from 0.999 to $1 to 1, and the price from 1 to 1.001. So more than 95% of the liquidity actually is concentrated in this two bars, and that's in the range of 0.999 to 1.001. By concentrating the liquidity just in these two bars or this range, and Uniswap V3 can achieve more, roughly 2,000 times capital efficiency compared to Uniswap V3. That means that the LP, by supplying the same amount of asset, is expected to receive 200,000 fees collected by the protocol. And also it can result much lower slippage. So because of the advantages of the Uniswap V3, so the TVL of the Uniswap V3 is grows dramatically. So it reaches roughly 2.58 billion just after about 3 months launch. So, so the question is that enough for the DEX, or still we have a lot of space can be made for Uniswap V3? So one thing we observe is that, so Uniswap V3 only offers concentrated liquidity for pair assets. So for example, Ether USDT or USDT USDC, while we know that a lot of tradings, they can happen in arbitrary assets. And if we can put them together in the same trading pool, and it can actually result in even higher capital efficiency, because all the assets can share the liquidity in the pool. So for example, in V3, because of its paired assets trading pools, a swap may be routed to multiple trading pairs in order to have better slippage. So for example, trading TUSD to BUSD may be routed to TUSD to USDT, and then routed to BUSD. So for each trading pairs in the routing path, the traders must pay the corresponding trading fee, which means that more fees will be paid by the traders with higher slippage. So if we want to put more assets into the same pool, also we want to harvest the benefit of concentrated liquidity. What should the curve look like? And unfortunately, this seems to be much more complicated problem. So let's first simplify the problem for stablecoin swap, because the stablecoin swap is perhaps can be most benefits from the concentrated liquidity. So the price of a lot of stable coins is concentrated in very small range with a small volatility. So when we put this the concentrated liquidity in the stable coins, So we first assume the price of stablecoin is just between a range between P over 1 over P, where P is a number smaller than 1. So for example, P equals to 0.999, which we observe in existing V3 that is most liquidity concentrated in that area. So we can further simplify the curve in a simpler form, which is x plus square root of P times L times y plus square root of P times L equals to L squared. And this gives us a good property is that the parameter into these terms are kind of symmetric. Unlike in previous, it is different price, but right now it's kind of symmetric. So it gives us intuitive extension to say, hey, whether we can just add the third term in this curve so that we are able to support another stable coin and also be able to concentrate the price still in the range of P to 1 OP. So an extension here we are making is adding a third term, which is Z, represent the amount of tokens of the third stablecoin. And also there are also quite some different there. So on the right-hand side, the curve becomes L cube because we have, on the left-hand side, we have 3 terms. And also the parameter on the square root of P times L is replaced by the cubic root of P times L. And so with this curve, we have a really nice analytic result, which we just summarize here. It tells us that given any amounts of asset in the pool that is X, Y, Z, the price of swapping any 2 tokens via the following curve that we are proposing will be in the range of P and to 1 over P. And so this gives us kind of results of concentrated liquidity results similar to V3 paired, but now we are able to extend to 3 assets. So let's take some examples of how it works. So consider a pool with 3 stable assets with 6 decimals, and each assets have 1 million in the pool, and the price range is 0.999 to 1.001. And so we can derive the liquidity, which is roughly 3,000 times 1 million. And so for this number, we can have a quick comparison with V2, which we can have about 200 times capital efficiency, which is similar to V3. And so by swapping 10K of 1 token for another token, it will return 9999.96, roughly 1 versus 1 swap in this balanced pool, while versus the Uniswap V2, which will return much less token, which is at the price of 0.9375, which is results in much higher slippage. And also, I would like to give another example that is in a kind of extremely unbalanced pool, where the pool only have 1 asset, and all the other assets is swapped out. And so you have 1 asset with 1 million assets, and the price range is still the same from 0.99 to 1.001. So the L here we can derive is roughly 1,000 Z, which is still again the same capital efficiency over V3 version. So now by swapping 10K token for the token that in the pool, that's T2, which will return 10K plus 9.9, which is given the price, which is 1.001, which is the limit of the price that we put, that is 1 OP in our setup. So we also, besides we have a lot of theoretical derivation of the concentrate curve, we also implemented in smart contract via Solidity. So we implemented using a high resolution fixed point implementation. Right now, it can support 3 assets, but it can be easily to extend to, for example, 4 assets, 5 assets in the same pool. And it can be also to adjust the price range so that it can satisfy different stablecoin swap needs. And also we developed an efficient Newton's method to find the liquidity parameter in the curve. We also developed a Uniswap V2 style interface, including mint, burn, and also swap. And we also have done some gas cost optimization. And so we are still testing the implementation, but everything looks, the early test result looks pretty good. And so we are scheduling to be a release candidate for the project of the Smooth Setup Finance, which is currently I'm advising. Which Smooth Setup Finance is the next generation swapping for same-back assets. So besides implement this smart contract and then let it to become a part of the DeFi, I would say, infrastructure, and there are a lot of very interesting future topics of concentrated liquidity for put assets. So here I list a few. One is the how to extend this to more assets. So right now I gave the curve that is for 3 assets. So it can be naturally extend to more assets like 4, 5, or even more by extend the equation to the product of the xi time plus L times n square root of p equals n to the power of n. So L to the power of n. So this will be able to support multiples and also be able to concentrate the liquidity in the P and over 1 OP. So another direction is to support multiple price ranges so that people can be, so right now the price ranges is from P, that's 1P or another 1P, 1 OP. And we are able to support, for example, 0.999 to 1.01, and also another range, maybe 0.9 to 1.1. And so that we are able to have the option to the liquidity providers to select which price ranges to minimize their called impermanent loss. And lastly, we are also be able to define different price ranges for different assets so that we replace the cubic square root of P parameter with arbitrary parameters and be able to derive their price ranges given different combination of these parameters. So here I would like to summarize what we have done in this area. So concentrated liquidity is one of the hottest topics in decentralized exchange. It can provide much more capital efficiency, and which results in better slippage and more fees for the liquid providers. And Uniswap V3 is the first DEX with the concentrated liquidity for pairwise assets. And so for stablecoin swap, the capital efficiency can be 2,000 times compared to Uniswap V2. And we propose the concentrated liquidity for multiple pool assets so that these assets can share liquidity and is well suited for example, stablecoin swap or sandbag access like different versions of BTC, wrapped BTC. So it can be a competitive products in the sandbag assets, such as versus like a Curve or V3 itself. And we also have done a smart contract implementation in Solidity. So many thanks for attending my presentation. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you have more questions, feel free to contact me offline at qizhou@quadchain.org. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that's the great questions. So the reason is that most of, actually I should go back to this, this curve. So the reason is that the price between the stable coins is mostly concentrated in a very small range, that's around 1. So here you see the price fluctuate and with a very small volatility. So which means that suppose I provide liquidity in V2, that means I will provide liquidity from price 0 to infinite. And that means a lot of this liquidity will not be contribute to the swapping because, like, for example, the price from 0 to 0.5 or 2 to the infinity may never be touched actually in the reality. So so those parts will be wasted, just stay in the pool. It does nothing. So in the stablecoin swap, as long as these stablecoins are packed, which is this case, and then those stablecoin swap will benefit from this concentrated liquidity that is concentrated the all liquidity, for example, in the Uniswap V3 case, that's to 0.99 to 1.01, and that will be most capital efficient way to collect the fees. So I think here I also mentioned a well-known project that probably a lot of people already know it as Curve, that is also working in this area by providing I won't say they call it concentrated liquidity, but the ending result is similar, which basically to flatten the price of the stable coins in surround 1. So I think Curve is a kind of like a very, I would say, a very good project, and also being battle tested since its launch from last year. But there are still a couple of questions in Curve that is unclear to at least to our developers. For example, it has a magic parameter called amplification parameter, which people have no idea what is physical meaning of this. And so actually adjusting this parameter, basically changing the flattenness of the curve surrounding 1, but it lacks a physical meaning. And for us, actually, from this, our curve actually has a very clear physical meaning, thanks to, I would say, Uniswap V3's concentrated liquidity idea, where all the parameters here, P, that is determining the price ranges of all the tokens in the swap. And the L is basically the same liquidity parameter as same as a V3. So it's, well, I would say from mathematical perspectives, it's much more, I would say, elegant. So I think from this perspective, I would say is there's a so our result can be well explained. So compared to, for example, Curve. Yeah, so this Curve perhaps is the largest one. Oh yeah. So I think the greatest thing is that one thing is perhaps is DeFi. From last year, there's a DeFi summer, and also in the early of this year, there's also a lot of DeFi project that comes out, and so this gives us, I would say, the promise that a lot of traditional finance can be also be able to blockchainize and also be run on top of the blockchain efficiently. So I think this is pretty amazing part because this gives us uh, the I would say the vision that blockchain can not only in DeFi but also in other areas. For example, recently have a very strong interest in NFT and also GameFi, which people are interested in how be able to apply to gamification. So I think there definitely there are more and more things that will be, I would say, blockchainized. Using my term, blockchainized like this. And so it's like early the stage of internet, right? So mail is replaced by email, and a lot of things are replaced. So as this grows, I'm looking forward to see more and more things to be productionized in this area.